So what I'm going to talk about today is something. It's a business concept that has been applied in other sectors. We use one of these digital platforms every day. We know about LinkedIn. We know about Facebook. Um, we know that these platforms, each one of them, follows a different goal, and so we are sort of bringing the same type of business model and business concept to the legal profession. That's what we're trying to do. And so let me start with just laying out the agenda for this presentation. So I will cover four topics. The first one is why Enloya exists, like what is their background, and basically what are the pain points that we're trying to solve, how we're how we're trying to enhance the dynamics in the legal sector. The second point is the state of play of the legal industry as we see it. The third point is an introduction of platforms as a business model that, in my point of view, represents a change of paradigm for the legal industry. And the fourth point is the Enloya platform itself and what it is and how it looks like and what the project is all about. Um, so why Enloya? I think that starting with why is something that I've seen in LinkedIn from like people who are like really into business management and leadership. So start with why, right? So I think so. I will start with that question by kicking off with explaining what the origins of a lawyer are. So as I was just talking to Dom before the start of this event, the origins of a lawyer are really humble. My best friend and I, we back in 2015, I think, we started talking about creating a platform through which we could sell services online, irrespective of where you're located, irrespective of whether you're based in Africa, Latin America, or Europe, and that nevertheless you could reach a global audience. We came about this idea because in our personal career paths we have faced difficulties in consolidating a career as international lawyers. I think now we have been successful in achieving that goal of consolidation. But I think it took a lot of effort, and I think that we can make it better for the people for ourselves. I think for ourselves in the future and for people who are going through like same difficulties. So the way it started is, so we both we studied law in Mexico. I'm originally from Mexico. So when you study law, you basically have to study, the law of the country where you're going to be based at the end when you graduate, right? So you don't have to travel abroad to find a job and to do what you love. But in the case of international lawyers, unless you're based in one of these hubs where international organizations are based, or regional organizations are based, like Washington, D.C., or Geneva, or Brussels, then you pretty much have to go abroad to work and develop a successful legal career. And so in our case, that means basically that you have to become an expat, and as an expat, you have to face with permit issues, you have to face with short-term contracts and those type of things. So it's always in the back of our minds. No, I mean, as Mexicans, we do not have we're not Europeans, or we're not Americans, and we don't belong to the first world. So it's always in the back of our minds, and we said, let's find a long-term solution to that. So why don't we start thinking about creating a platform through which we can sell our services online? And we thought it for ourselves first, and then we started escalating to make it more general for other lawyers. So what is our value proposition? So as you will see, as I will explain, so um, The effective platform in an industry is disrupting in a good way, um, because it reduces the delivery of services exponentially faster, and also it reduces the prices of whatever you're selling, in this case, legal solutions, by up to 3x, according to our research. And second value proposition is that we, on the other side, for the vendors, or in this case, the lawyers, customer acquisition win-win for everyone. And the third point of of why is our vision. I mean, our vision is to become. Today we connect businesses with lawyers, but our vision is to become a one-stop shop for everything legal. And when I say shop, is literally that. Today we interact through LinkedIn, and we can create good contacts and good networks there, but you cannot do business there. And so we want to sort of create something similar than what LinkedIn has, but also add the marketplace component, and make it specific for the legal profession. So what is the state of play today? The law firm, the legal industry is divided by different groups. So you have, and I might be missing other groups, by the way, but these are the more obvious ones. So you have typical law firms and consulting firms. So in this case, I put Baker McKinsey because it's perhaps one of the most popular law firms in terms of branding. And then you have Stripe Atlas, which is a consulting firm. They're not a law firm, they're a consulting firm. Nevertheless, they provide legal services. And then you have a new trend. So the other three groups are types of companies that have been rising up since the last 10 years. So they're not very old. So you have companies like Lexu or Axiom or Linky Law, PwC Flex Services, who manage services. The way it works is that if a business has a legal problem, they submit the problem to the platform, and then they manage the matching manually between the business and between the project and the lawyers, or the team of lawyers. So they conform the team of lawyers who will handle a specific matter on a case-by-case basis. So I think that's a pretty successful business model. But in our case, we think that it's not highly scalable. So at the end, you have ultimately something very similar to a law firm. So if you want to scale it as Lexo or Linky Law or Axiom, PwC Flex, then you have to get your hands dirty. You cannot scale automatically. You have to really, because you manage the interaction between the two sides. And then you have the legal tech companies, right? So so in one of the biggest ones is that I know of is LawGeeks, which is based in Israel. They're creating a artificial intelligence based contracts analysis software, and they're pretty successful. In Geneva, in Switzerland, we have a company called The Artist, which is also pretty successful. And I think that we will see more and more of these type of legal tech companies, proper legal tech companies, in the future, that to some extent will disrupt the legal profession in I would say in a positive way, but it could also have negative implications. That's something that I guess we should be aware of. But then we have the platform-based companies. So we have the biggest one in the entire world is Avo, which is a country-specific platform in the United States. So they initially was a directory of lawyers, and now you can do similar to what you can do with Lexu and Axiom. You can submit your project, and they will do the matching between a legal project and a team of lawyers. And then you have other country-specific platforms like El Abogado, which is based in Spain. And then you have a global platform, which is Up Counsel, but they were having some legal issues. If you Google the background and the story of this company, I don't really know what's going on. I heard that it was inactive, and that it was supposedly bought by LinkedIn. I really don't know what the status of this project is. If you go to their website, they seem to be working very similarly to the group of managed services companies. So I think the tendency of platforms is to go and follow this approach, the managed services outsourcing model. And so what Enloya fits into this equation. So Enloya is really a meta platform. So what we're trying to do is to bring all of these guys together into one platform. So each one of these guys are going to customize legal solutions or legal packages. And so that's ultimately what we're going to try to do, to connect businesses with legal solutions, irrespective of whether they come in the form of a legal service provided by a lawyer or by a legal technology company. And so all of these guys, in principle, would have an incentive to come to Enloya to create a profile and to find business. So it's a meta platform for lead generation for the legal industry. Why? So this is the kind of the introduction of why the platform-based model is a change of paradigm. Today, the way the business is done is that you have the lawyer on one side, you have the client on the other side, and the value is created by the lawyer by producing a legal service and delivering it in a successful and high quality way. If you're a lawyer, this is your model, right? So, and I think this will continue to be the case for all of the players of the legal sector, even in with a digital platform like Enloya in parallel. So if you're a lawyer, you will continue building value as a company following this pipeline-based model. But platforms, we represent a paradigm shift. So the way it works is that we do not create value by delivering a service itself, but by connecting sides. So on the one side, you have the buyers, and on the other side, you have the sellers of a good or a service. And so the value comes in the form of interactions. And so the more interactions you can orchestrate or you can make, and the more value these interactions have, the more value overall the platform will have. And it's really a win-win for everyone, because the buyers and the sellers will be able to reduce their costs. They will be able to connect with each other more easier than ever before, and interact in a free way, as opposed to someone managing how they sell, or the pricing that they have at which they have to sell, etc. And so it represents a paradigm shift in two respects in our point of view. And this is from the Platform Revolution book by Jeff Parker and others. So it represents a paradigm shift because we move from a consumption-driven model to an outcome and participation-driven model. So what this means is that the consumer gets value from a platform not as a result of consuming a particular good or service, but from how valuable the interactions that occur through the platform are. So the better experience that you can deliver as a platform, the more valuable your platform is going to be. Then we moved from a resource-based system to an ecosystems-based system. So before, today you have, the limited resources. You have the money, and then you have the capital and the labor, and so you manage these resources, and you create something that ultimately is delivered to a client. And that's how you create value, by producing something based on material resources or intellectual resources. And whereas if you follow a platform model approach, then what you have to do in order to succeed is to create ecosystems. So you start realizing how the platform, the users of the platform are behaving, and you can see, which services or which pages are being visited the most, which services are being purchased the most, and then you start collecting that data, raw data from the users, and then you, as a platform, you have to draw inferences from that data and try to see where the value of your platform is, and try to drive the so what you have to do is really to create an ecosystem, um, and to try to orchestrate it in a way that everyone has obtains value from participating in this platform. And then the third shift is that we move from a managing internal process model to managing external interactions model. So it relates a little bit to the previous point. So um, instead of you in a law firm, you have your structure, and then you have your the hierarchy, and then we also have between the lawyers, and then you have the human resources, and you have all types of professionals working for a legal firm or a legal consulting company. And so the way you manage a company is by managing those internal resources. But if when you follow a paradigm, a platform model, then what you're doing is to orchestrate internal interactions that do not occur inside of your company. And so what's Enloya Approach? So this is the present. So we are following a platform-based approach, and then we connect businesses with lawyers today. And so we approach lawyers so that instead of selling themselves, they customize packages that they can sell for a fixed fee, and that each one of these packages represents a legal solution. So we ultimately connect businesses with legal solutions. And the vendors in this case are the lawyers. In the future, though, we want to be, as I said, a one-stop shop for everything legal. And what that means is that we think that we can connect a lot of sides in any side in the legal sector. So we want to move towards connecting lawyers with lawyers, and so that they can interact with each other, create value between themselves, and create teams on a case-by-case basis. We also want to connect legal technology companies with lawyers so that they can find clients much easier. I think that one of the problems that we have seen from legal tech companies is that they create incredible technology, but then it's really hard for them to find clients. They are, on the one side, they fear disruption, and on the other side, some of these legal tech companies are not driven, they're not led by a lawyer. So the network of lawyers at their disposal is low. So why better than posting your product through a platform like Enloya, where everyone is a lawyer, and through that you can get clients easier. And then we also see the participation of other professionals in the legal industry. I mean, to file a patent, for example, you need a lawyer, but then you also need a technical person. You need someone that's a biologist, or you need a chemist, you need an engineer that can draft the technical statement that's submitted to the patent office that describes the patent where you're trying to patent. So we also want to be a platform for those other professionals who somehow want to be connected to the legal industry, so that lawyers can team up with them, accountants for tax purposes, and why not? And then, because we're going to have a lot of lawyers in the platform, and these lawyers, you will be able to see to some extent their performance, because their performance will be reviewed by the clients. then you will have the recruiters as well that could come and verify not only your credentials, your CV, but how you actually perform. And of course, investors. I think in the legal tech sector, we also want to somehow help businesses to find um, uh, an interaction with investors, especially the legal tech businesses that so that they can interact with investors. What makes Enloya unique compared to other platforms? As I said, there are other platforms in the ecosystem today, but what makes Enloya unique? The first characteristic is that we are, since day one, we have been wanting to be, and we are driven by this principle that we want to become a global platform. I think for me as an internationalist, it really doesn't make any sense for me to create a country-specific platform. Uh, I guess if you're in the US, and which is the biggest market in the world for legal services, there is an incentive to keep it quote unquote small and just focus on that country. But as I said, as an internationalist, I think I don't see any other thing than creating a platform of global scale, even if it takes a little bit of time to reach some traction. And the second characteristic that makes us unique is that we're data driven. So by this means is that similar to LinkedIn, we aim at becoming a data driven platform that digitizes and orchestrates the legal industry and their interactions that occur within the industry. So I think so. I guess as a company, we're faced with challenges, right? So as any company that handles data will face challenges of data privacy and so on, and we can talk about that, of course. And then the third point is that our focus is on legal solutions. I mean, as I said, today we connect businesses with lawyers, but ultimately what we care about is what you can do. So how can you transform your skills as a lawyer into a legal solution? And so if you go to the platform, I mean, the platform is in private beta, but we're planning to launch very soon. And so once you see it, you will see that once you visit the profile of a lawyer, then you'll see that each lawyer has packages listed in its profile. And so and each one of these packages represents a legal solution for you. So when you're searching for something, you will be searching for a legal solution, and what will appear in the search results will be the legal solutions, irrespective of the lawyer that created it. The fourth characteristic is that we're bringing the gig economy model. For those who are not familiar with the concept of gig economy, you have to look at the most representative platform for me from the gig economy is called Fiverr. So this is funny because my friend and I, the guy who with whom I started creating this project, we were selling our services through Fiverr to test the idea of selling services online, and it took a little bit of time to get our first clients, but it actually worked. And we did this through Fiverr, and we thought that it was a really amazing, powerful business concept. So we want to bring that. So what the gig economy model means is that everything which you purchase through the platform is it's sold for a fixed fee, and you also know specifically what you're going to get at the end. So I can hear someone talking, but I'm not sure. I think we leave the questions at the end if that's okay. And then the fifth point is that we allow direct interaction between the businesses and the lawyers, the clients and the vendors, opposite to what platforms are doing today. As I said, Lexu and Axiom and LinkedIn Law, they manage the interaction. So you submit a project to them and they create the legal team that will handle your project on a case-by-case basis, right? So, and they negotiate perhaps some of the terms of the transaction, and we don't do that. So we will allow direct interaction between the businesses and the vendors. And move to the next one. So what is the status of our project? So we have a private beta, which is accessible only to the lawyers who have applied and to selected people. But we plan to launch very soon at the end of this year. We are currently pre-launching. And in that process, we already have, as of yesterday night, we have 66 vetted lawyers from 18 countries and representing 19 jurisdictions. We're also focusing on building our brand recognition. I think that it's important to be recognized. The challenges that we have faced to break the so-called chicken neck problem and bringing lawyers into the platform is that lawyers are uncomfortable with the idea of being reviewed online. Even though if you go to Avon, you will see that there's a bunch of lawyers who have no problem being reviewed online. But still, I think that especially in Europe, we have seen that lawyers are afraid of being reviewed online. I think that's the way it's been for centuries. That lawyers have, they're conservative. We are a conservative industry. We feel uncomfortable, and I also I put myself in that box as well. We feel uncomfortable being reviewed publicly, but I think to make the industry better, I think that we have to lose the fear, and we have to just to enter the future of the future is based in transparency, and I think that the more transparent you are about who you are, then the better and more authentic you're going to be. And the fourth point that's worth noting is that we are supported by InnoSwiss, which is Switzerland's innovation agency. So we're backed by by coaches and people who are really smart and who help us, who are committed to help us, and so we hopefully these guys will help us to have a very successful launch end of the year. So how can you get involved with our project? It depends, right? So if you're a lawyer or a law firm, I invite you to join the platform. So you go to www.enloya.com. If you're a lawyer, submit your application to join the platform. In order to join, we will review your credentials. So we need to make sure that you're a lawyer. You will have to provide your license number, etc. So once we verify that you're a lawyer in your country, or that you're eligible to provide legal services, because I understand that some countries they have a different type of concept compared to what I understand as quote unquote lawyers, because in some countries you have this difference between lawyers and advisors or something like that. And so it doesn't matter. I mean, if you're eligible, if you have a legal license and you're eligible to provide legal services, that's all it matters. If you don't have a license number, we will ask you for, of course, proof that you're a lawyer. If you're a legal tech company that has created a cool product and it's struggling to find clients, then submit your product as well in enloya.com. If you are a business person, then you can collaborate with us. I mean, we're looking for partners, for brand ambassadors. We are very open to that, and we would be super honored if you would write us and you want to collaborate with us. And lastly, please do follow us on social media, especially LinkedIn. We provide to keep updated with our project. I think the best thing to do is to follow us especially on LinkedIn. We constantly put social media content there, and so you can keep track of who we are, what we're doing, the type of vision that we have about the future of the legal industry, as well as Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And so thank you very much. I think that pretty much concludes my presentation. And if you have any questions or comments, please, this is the moment to raise them. I'll be happy to answer them. I think at this point I have to pass